El Problema Grande de D.J. is the 17th episode of the second season of Full House. This is directed by Bill Foster, and it's a really brilliant episode. And as always, there will be spoilers as I discuss various aspects of the narrative. So, spoilers from now, and I think all of my thoughts are chronological, so I'll probably go through them in the order that I wrote them. And it starts off rather adorably with Michelle getting her own way. DJ and Stephanie are arguing over the last cookie, and it ends up going to Michelle. And I think it's great that Michelle is now at the age where DJ and Stephanie might be on one team and Michelle on the other. Instead of having DJ versus Stephanie, it's now, well, it's every sister for themselves, but also Michelle is giving as good as it gets, and she's absolutely adorable. Then the main narrative kicks in, and Steph comes home with a brilliant report card, but there is a note from her teacher that says she talks a bit too much in class, and her family kind of refer to her as a chatterbox, and Stephanie takes this to heart, and she decides that she's not going to talk around her family anymore, so she locks her lips shut and throws away the key, and for a lot of it, she refuses to speak, and that part of the narrative I thought was adorable. I will discuss at the end ultimately what happens with that one. DJ got 6 A's and a D, and she got a D in Spanish, and she is convinced that her teacher just has it in for her. And again, I will come back to that part of the narrative in a moment. We then get Mr. Malatesta, played by the brilliant James Hampton, who actually visits the house, and he goes down to Joey's room where Jesse and Joey are with Michelle. And Michelle tries these marshmallows and says some really adorable things. And we have this great moment where Mr. Malatesta is holding Michelle, which in my mind is just Leroy B. Simpson from the Doris Day Show holding Mary-Kate or Ashley, which I just absolutely loved. For me, personally, I found that to be fabulous. And they decide that Michelle is going to play the baby in this marshmallow commercial. And I'll come back to that in a little bit, but I did really thoroughly enjoy that part of the narrative. Danny, as he promised DJ, goes down to DJ's school, and he's obviously going to confront her teacher. We have some great moments with Kimmy as well. Kimmy is in, I think, 3 or 4 scenes in this episode. Not extensively, but enough to get some decent Kimmy moments, and I just think Andrea Barber is absolutely fantastic, and this episode with Kimmy is no exception. Danny goes to talk to Senorita Mosley, played by Lydia Cornell, and she straight away recognizes him as Danny Tanner from the television, and Danny is obviously flattered with the compliments, and Senorita Mosley agrees to visit the home, the Tanner home, to help set up a plan for DJ to help improve her grade, as DJ is just not doing as well as she could be. And then we do get Senorita Mosley on the sofa with Danny, and they're repeatedly saying the word pero, which means dog, which I didn't know. I know basically no Spanish, and also I realise my pronunciation is terrible. A lot of the focus of this scene is trying to get Danny to roll his R's, which I also can't do. And then they kiss, which was a terrible idea because Danny is kissing DJ's teacher. To make it worse, DJ and Kimmy and a couple of other friends come into the room at that time, and it's such an awkward moment, and I can completely understand DJ reacting the way she did. And Danny says something that I thought was really interesting, where he admits to her he shouldn't have done it, but he doesn't know what else he can say about it. DJ is just going to have to accept his apology, which I thought was a pretty strong statement, that she just has to accept it. It's as simple as that. And Danny, at that moment, couldn't necessarily see where DJ was coming from. And DJ says she accepts his apology, but I think it's clear deep down that she doesn't. And I think seeing your parent kiss your teacher, that wound isn't going to heal straight away. And I think it's completely acceptable for DJ to not really get over that straight away. Meanwhile, Michelle is trying to film this commercial, and she looks gorgeous. The blue dress is stunning, and things don't exactly go according to plan. She'd had too many marshmallows, and it's just an adorable scene, and I love how it played out. They didn't make a big deal out of it, but at the same time, the scene lasted long enough for us to get some comedy out of it, and for us to learn that if you're trying to get a baby to star in a marshmallow commercial, maybe don't make them sick of marshmallows beforehand. It's very sweet. It's a nice little filler for the main narrative, and I definitely had some fun with it. The following morning, DJ is getting ready to go to school and she doesn't want to go to school. And Jesse gives her some pretty good advice. Now, this advice could have backfired. They could have gone down the route with this not being the best approach, but at the same time, I think it worked well with what we got. Joey tells her to make fun of her own situation, kind of as a defense mechanism. And this kind of thing might work, but also it doesn't. Speaking from personal experience, without going into too much detail, I tried to make fun of myself at school when people would make fun of me. And in hindsight, decades later, it probably wasn't the best approach. But the episode didn't go down that route. DJ made fun of herself, and honestly, that's the best she could have done, particularly when it turned out Danny was in the closet in the classroom. Because to his credit, he had gone down to talk to Senorita Mosley to say this isn't sensible, we shouldn't do this. She agrees, everything goes well. Danny is about to leave the classroom when there's a class about to come in, so he goes out of what he thought was the back door. I don't know why he thought the classroom would have a back door. Most don't, but it turns out it was a closet. And the class that's coming into the room is DJ's class. And I think they could have done a bit more with this, with having Danny in the closet a little bit longer while DJ was making fun of the situation and seeing how he reacted to that. Maybe he could have been hurt by DJ's words, realizing that absolutely there were no winners in this situation. So they could have done a bit more with it. I would have liked to have seen that scene lasting a little bit longer, but what we got was good. I just wanted more. But nevertheless, I think it was a reasonable way to take things with the time that they had, I guess. And the conversation between Danny and DJ was really lovely. This is, of course, the conversation that happens later on at home, and Danny apologizes and also tells DJ that just because something is hard, she shouldn't give up, which is, of course, what we see her doing with Spanish. And he points out, particularly because things normally come easy to her and Spanish doesn't, it's reasonable for her to want to just not try because she doesn't have to try necessarily with other things. And I think that that's a really good way of looking at things. And I rather enjoyed that conversation. And then we get Stephanie finally unbuttoning or unzipping her lips and just sharing all of the gossip. And it's a really great performance from young Jodie Sweetin at the time, where she just talks and talks and talks. And it was a lovely way of ending the episode. It's a brilliant episode. I had a lot of fun with it. There are a lot of really great moments. I think it's a very memorable episode as well. And personal highlight, as I said, absolutely has to be James Hampton holding Mary-Kate or Ashley, because I love the Doris Day Show, I love Leroy B. Simpson, and I love Mary-Kate and Ashley, so for me, that was pretty special. The whole thing, though, is an absolute delight, lots of really great moments, and I'm sure it's an episode that I'll always really enjoy.